Evening, officer.
Good evening.
Before we continue, I'd just like to let you know that you are being recorded right now.
Okay, that's fine.
So I would just like to know why I'm being pulled over.
We're doing a roadside safety check.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I being detained?
What's that?
Am I being detained?
Well, right now we're just conducting our job, making sure
Okay.
that everyone's on the road driving safely.
Okay. Is that
Yes, you can. You're not free to leave right
so far? Everybody's being safe. Am I being detained then?
now. You're not free to leave.
Am I
Okay?
being detained? If I'm not free to leave, then you're suspecting me of committing a crime. Then am I being detained?
We're making sure that everybody's driving safely.
Oh, I understand. Thank you for.
Now, I've
for
explained
doing your
myself.
job. Absolutely.
Okay. And we do have the legal right to stop you right now.
Oh, I
So
believe this is
okay, hold on,
unconstitutional,
hold on, I'm
but
speaking. Now, like I said, I've asked you for your driver's license. and proof of
you actually
insurance.
didn't
Now,
ask
please
me
give it
for
to me.
my driver's license, but I'm actually not obligated to provide that if I'm not being detained.
What? You are
Whoa,
obligated.
whoa, whoa,
You're
whoa!
obligated. Get out now.
whoa.
Get out now. Driving's a privilege,
Sir.
not a right. I'm telling you to get out right now.
Excuse me, I'm not.
We asked for your
resisting at all.
license and insurance. Yes, you are resisting
I
at
can
this
provide.
point.
No, sir, I
Then
can
give us
provide
your
it.
license and insurance,
Absolutely.
like he was asked.
Absolutely, sir. This is my license here.
Okay, now get your insurance. That's
Okay.
required by law.
All right.
Driving's a privilege, not a right.
Absolutely, sir. I completely.
We're not going to
agree.
sit here and debate with you.
Okay, well, this is very unconstitutional. What you're doing.
No, you know what?
And-
This is not unconstitutional. I already explained it to you. Driving's
Sir.
a privilege and not a right.
Understood. This is my driver's
Good.
license. My
Thank
insurance
you.
Card. You're welcome.
That's what you're required to do to drive in Illinois.
I
Do
would-
you know understand that?
Absolutely.
Do you understand
I would
that?
also like to inform you that you are being recorded right now.
Good.
Okay. Can I please
You were
shut
asked.
my door?
No.
Since I'm not being detained.
No.
What am I being detained for exactly, sir? If I am
We
being
asked for your
detained.
driver's license and insurance card, which you're required to have when you drive in the state of Illinois.
Understood.
Correct?
Correct. That is correct.
That's what you were asked
And I
for.
do have that. Correct. I just
I don't
gave
know.
that to
I'm
you.
looking at it. You refused to
I
provide
did
it
not
originally,
refuse.
didn't you?
Absolutely not. I did not refuse anything.
Is this
I
your
said-
current address?
I asked. I would not like
Is
to
this
answer
your
any.
current
I'd like to
address?
remain silent, sir, unless I have an attorney present.
Is this your current address?
I would like to remain silent, sir. I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right.
Do you have a more current insurance card?
I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right. Everything there is completely valid and legal, and I'd like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right from here on out, unless I
I'm
have
sorry,
an
what
attorney.
was that?
I would like to exercise my Fifth Amendment right from here on out,
What
unless
does
I have
the
an
Fifth
attorney.
Amendment
That I have the right to remain silent.
Really? Are
Absolutely.
you sure?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Am I free to
Proceed
leave?
on. Yes, sir,
Thank
you
you.
are.
You guys have a great night.
Okay, so roadblocks have been deemed constitutional by our government. So when he says they're not constitutional, that's not correct. But we as American citizens do have the right to protest them, but not, this is not the time to do it. Being polite to police officers will never get you in trouble. When you're anything less than polite, then you're raising suspicion for them. And that's their job, is to read people. So let me read this Know Your Rights on what to do at a roadblock, because this information is very useful. Roadblocks are usually established in locations that prevent easy avoidance, offer ample parking for interrogated suspects, law violators, and issuing tickets, and usually in places and during times that will not cause serious traffic tie-ups, although there have certainly been exceptions. The stated purpose of roadblocks are usually legalized excuses to stop and scrutinize motorists for which they were otherwise not be a reason to do so. These excuses include sobriety checks, license and registration verification, possession of insurance, proof of citizenship, and seatbelt usage. The desired effect is to establish a sense of fear and intimidation among the population. The pity is that it works as far as the desired effect is concerned. Even if the courts allow roadblocks for certain purposes, e.g., the recent cases prohibiting roadblocks from being used to identify drug users or couriers, the enforcement agencies just claim another purpose for the roadblocks and its business as usual. The courts have gone out of their way to allow the police great latitude in what they can do once they have you stopped under their control. The point of the above discussion is to discuss that you engage in the roadblock process from the standpoint that the current courts find them legal and legitimate law enforcement tactics. Therefore, there is little to gain by launching into a tirade over the constitutionality of roadblocks, at least while you are stopped at one. And this is one of the points I was just trying to make. It doesn't matter whether they're constitutional or not, and trying to clarify this with the police officer while they're pulling you over it's not the time or the place. However, this is not to say that all your rights are null and void once you enter a roadblock. First, the police do not have the authority to search you or your vehicle without probable cause that you have or are committing a crime. They may ask your permission for a search, which means they do not have legal grounds to force a search. Never permit a voluntary search of your person or your vehicle. _ The police may try to cajole you to permitting a search, to the old ruse, if you don't have anything to hide, why object to the search, should be ignored or met with the response that you value your right to privacy and you do not consent to a search of your vehicle. If under any circumstances the police force a search of your vehicle, assume the worst case scenario. If they can't find anything illegal in your vehicle, they may place something in the vehicle that will justify their search. This is a sad commentary on the state of affairs, but these events should be expected in a society that employs police state tactics to intimidate common citizens. Often an involuntary search is preceded by another form of search. The once over by the urban myth known as the infallible drug-sniffing dog, Old Bowser, can be relied upon to find drugs any place the police want to find drugs. Parentheses, yes, the dogs can detect, but they can be easily manipulated or tricked into, quote, sensing drugs where no drugs exist, at least prior to a roadblock stop. Most people are so relieved to be allowed to leave from the harrowing experience of having their car ravaged that they never consider launching a civil suit against the police department. If the police are persistent about searching your vehicle, you should be equally persistent in demanding that they specify what illegal item they are looking for and why they think that you have it in your car. If they cannot come up with plausible answers to these questions, they do not have legal grounds to even consider searching your car. The courts also allow police to detain drivers for further interrogation, but not indefinite lengths of time. The court seems to tolerate 20 minutes of harassment and intimidation and consider that tolerable for a suspected criminal. However, unless you ask to leave, the courts have said the police are under no obligation to tell you that you can leave. You have to ask, am I free to go? If the police do not have a defensible grounds to further detain you, they have to let you go. There is no greater symbol of a society having lost its bearings than the sobriety roadblock. It is universally admitted that roadblocks apprehend very few drunk drivers, far fewer than the same allocation of resources could apprehend during regular patrols. Again, the purpose is intimidation. Using the stops as a pretense to look for other criminal activity and garner public relations points as a, quote, get tough on drunk drivers agency. DWI roadblocks are usually set up at night and can be quite unnerving, with bright lights, orchestrated show of force, flashlights thrust into drivers' faces. As the previous comments about searches are applicable to DWI roadblocks, also, you should not allow any penetration of your vehicle's interior space. That includes sticking a flashlight, parentheses, often containing an alcohol sensor, through your window. You can be required to show the usual documentation such as your driver's license, but you do not have to open your window any further than the space to hand it out. You do not have to answer any questions about where you have been or where you are going, whether or not you have been drinking, or what items are contained in your car. If you are ordered out of your car, lock the door behind you. This is very important information. You do not have to perform any feats of balance, answer quiz questions, or recite the alphabet. In fact, we recommend that you respectfully decline to do any of these things. A so-called field sobriety test is conducted for only one reason: to develop probable cause to arrest you for drunk driving. You cannot pass a field sobriety test no matter how sober or gifted you are. If the police believe that if they have probable cause to charge you with drunk driving, they can coerce you to take some form of breath or chemical test to determine your blood alcohol content. You can refuse, but the penalties for refusal are often as severe as the DWI conviction. When you are first approached at a DWI roadblock, open your window slightly and wait for the officer to make his statement or ask his question. If he simply offers the canned explanation for the stop and asks to see your license, have it ready to hand to him. If he asks for any further questions, you should politely decline to enter into a discussion, something like, "Officer, I really don't approve of roadblocks and I don't care to discuss my affairs," should suffice. If the officer persists, ask for the returning of your license and ask if you may leave. It is important not to answer any questions, no matter how harmless. Your willingness to answer some questions, but not others, will raise suspicion. Worse yet is to give incriminating answers to seemingly routine questions. May I put in, being polite is not a bad thing. The people being arrogant and persistent and just trying to push an officer's buttons is doing nothing but causing problems. If you set the stage in a manner that is clear you are not going to answer any questions, period, there can be no defensible reason for detaining you based on what you said. Just answer every question with, "I don't wish to discuss my affairs. May I leave now?" By law, you are not obligated to answer these kinds of questions, and you cannot be detained because you refuse to chit-chat with the officer at a roadblock. If you have the time, the courage, and the confidence to verbally express your displeasure with being stopped at a roadblock, please do so. It would be a nice change of pace. Now, this is a great website. I'll provide the link below. It basically allows people to add roadblocks to where they have existed in the past, so that if people just choose to avoid them, they can. They're usually very vague when they post when they're going to have a roadblock. Vague meaning it could be more than one town. So they want to basically set the situation up for people to possibly, you would think that it's about arrests, and it really isn't. Has to do more with the intimidation and the police state that is being imposed upon us. And these have been going on for a long time. They just seem to be more prevalent now than ever.